the man noticed something strange while flying the plane. At over 30,000 feet in the air, there was somehow a massive swarm of bees. He didn't have time to avoid it and flew straight into it. In an instant, huge numbers of bees poured into the cockpit. In the chaos, he made a fatal mistake. He pulled up hard, trying to climb and escape the danger, but out of nowhere, a commercial airliner came straight at him. The two aircraft collided, the captain was sucked out of the plane, and a massive hole was ripped open in the side of the airliner. Oxygen masks dropped immediately, and the cabin erupted into panic. Luckily, a police officer named Grant was on that flight. She discovered that the co-pilot was badly injured, but he was still desperately holding on to the controls. Using the last of his strength, he pressed a series of buttons, and the plane finally stabilized, but the effort knocked him unconscious. Grant wanted to contact air traffic control, but the radio system was already dead. Thankfully, there was still cell service, so she called for help right away. 911 managed to connect Grant with the air traffic control. Now that there was no pilot left, the only person who could save the passengers was her, but she had absolutely no flying experience.
I need you to look on the instrument panel just below the windshield.
Do you see a button that says AP?
I do, yes.
Is it lit?
Yes.
Good. Your autopilot is engaged.
The good news was that the plane was still on autopilot, so for the moment there was no immediate risk of crashing. Air traffic control quickly sent for a professional flight instructor. But then, a flight attendant brought even worse news. A large number of passengers had been injured in the collision, and to make matters worse, debris from the private plane was lodged on top of the airliner, meaning the fuselage could tear open again at any moment. Grant immediately told the flight attendants to move everyone toward the rear of the cabin and keep the passengers calm.
If I could just have everyone's attention, my name is Athena Grant. I'm a sergeant with the LAPD. I've been in touch with people on the ground. They are aware of our situation and are working on a solution. I know that you're all scared. I won't tell you not to be, because I am too. But the important thing now is that we help each other and not panic.
At that moment, air traffic control finally called back. They had brought in a professional flight instructor. He was 90% sure he could help reduce the danger as much as possible, but they overlooked one critical problem. The plane needed to make a full left turn. Even with the instructor giving professional guidance, Grant could barely understand a word he was saying.
You want the one with the current heading.
Which the hell one is that?
Fortunately, a kid who loved playing flight simulator games showed up. With his help, Grant turned the plane around, sending it into a huge, smooth arc in the sky, buying them more time for rescue.
Okay, got it. Now what?
Congratulations, you just turned a jetliner around.
That's it?
For now.
After some time of struggling with the airliner, the co-pilot suddenly wakes up.
I'm just glad you're alive. And more than a little glad that you're awake.
Does anyone know where we are?
Just crossed into SoCal radar control.
Turn the plane around.
I did.
Wow, but I should probably take over.
Yeah, I think we'd all prefer that, yeah.
Sergeant Grant believes she is off the hook. However, within seconds of standing up, the co-pilot suffers a massive heart attack and collapses.
No pulse! Starting compressions! Come on! Come on!
This is the co-pilot?
The only pilot!
There, but if there's any way to continue compressions until you land, it will keep oxygen flowing to his brain, and he might have a chance.
Thanks, Maddie.
Let me take over.
Okay.
Come on.
Grant instructs the flight attendants and passengers to perform continuous CPR on the dying co-pilot as she's forced back into the pilot's seat to grip the controls. As the airliner gets closer to the city, the plane's structural integrity completely deteriorates. The flight controls experience total mechanical failure, stripping away any possibility of making it to the LAX airport runways.
How much fuel does she have?
In less than 20 minutes, that aircraft will be on the ground.
Maddie connects Bobby directly to a passenger's phone on the aircraft. Realizing Athena has no steering, Bobby tells her they need to find a straight line. They coordinate a wild plan.
Running out of fuel.
How much do you need?
How much of what?
Runway.
Bobby uses the stolen prop fire truck to aggressively block traffic and completely shut down the massive 110 freeway.
We just got ourselves a runway.
That's news all day.
We need to get everybody out of these cars. Tell them to run.
What?
There's a plane coming.
Grant guides the massive commercial airliner down from the sky, lining it up with the empty lanes of the highway. The plane's tires screech onto the asphalt, sparking heavily. Sergeant fights the controls as the plane bars down the freeway, ultimately executing a miraculous emergency landing and slamming to a halt just inches in front of Bobby's truck.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm calling from the Seymour Chocolate Factory in El Segundo. My colleague is drowning in dark chocolate.
He's a factory worker?
A social studies teacher, just please hurry!
The man just wanted to sneak a taste of some chocolate, but the second he scooped some up, his hand slipped, and he fell straight into the giant vat of chocolate, leaving only his head above the surface to breathe. When the workers saw this, they immediately started heating the tank, because only by keeping it hot could they stop the chocolate from hardening around him. Seeing the man's life hanging by a thread, the firefighters rushed over with a ladder and placed it across the top of the vat. Then, several of them grabbed hold and tried to pull him out together. But the moment they pulled, something unexpected happened. In an instant, the man was sucked right back down. Not only did they fail to save him, they nearly pulled one of the rescuers into the vert as well. It turned out this was caused by a physical reaction. As the team pulled upward, pressure formed inside the vart, creating an opposing force that dragged the man deeper into the chocolate. By now, even breathing had become a problem. Realizing the danger, the captain immediately ordered his team to bring over an oxygen tank. They lowered the tube down and told the man to bite onto it. Only then did he finally manage to get a breath of fresh air, but before he could take more than a few breaths, the powerful suction dragged him back down again. Just as the situation was becoming critical, the captain quickly had a large container brought over and poured the liquid inside into the vat. He explained that the liquid was called cocoa butter. It could thin out the chocolate and reduce its thickness. As the firefighters kept stirring the vart, the chocolate slowly began to loosen up. Taking advantage of the moment, the team used all their strength and finally managed to pull the man free. They lifted him onto a stretcher and rushed him off for medical treatment. He never imagined that trying to steal just one bite of chocolate would nearly cost him his life. The doctor pulled out a police officer toy from the child's nose, but the strange thing was that the child was still crying. So the doctor checked again, and as expected, another toy came out of the child's nose. And this time the toy was a firefighter. But even after that, the child would not stop crying. So the doctor checked his nose again, and this time he pulled out a fire truck toy. The doctor was completely shocked and asked why this child had put so many things in his nose. The child's father replied that maybe he has some psychological issue. But when the doctor looked closely at the lineup of toys, he noticed a pattern. The fire truck, the fireman, and then the police officer clearly indicated that one more victim was missing. So the doctor checked the child's nose again, and this time a kitten toy came out of his nose. After that, the doctor understood the whole story. In reality, the child was very smart. He sent the firefighter and his truck into his nose to rescue the trapped kitten, and when they too got stuck, he sent the police officer in to save them. Now tell me, is that crazy, or is that actually genius?
Bond, the cleaning guy, he comes in before we open and gets everything situated, but he didn't answer when I called out to him today.
How long has he been in there?
Not sure. A couple of hours.
A hand was stuck in the gap of a freezer door, leaving even the firefighters puzzled. It turned out the man was the janitor responsible for the freezer. What made the situation even more desperate was that he had been trapped for 4 to 5 hours. No matter how much the captain called out, there was no response from inside. In such a situation, if he was still alive, it would truly be a miracle. After assessing the situation, the captain considered cutting off the door hinges to open it. Just then, a team member came up with a new idea, placing 2 haligans above and below his fingers to maintain the gap, then prying the door from the hinge side. Without hesitation, they quickly got into position on the captain's command. The door suddenly gave way and the weakened man collapsed. Luckily, he was still breathing, and the rescuers immediately lifted him onto a stretcher and rushed him to the hospital. The pool water suddenly glowed red as an eruption from the underlying volcano sent lava surging, instantly transforming the water into a scorching inferno. Despite the urgency to flee, blaring music drowned out a companion's warning, leading one man to leap into the boiling pool. Onlookers witnessed in horror as the man's ill-fated decision unfolded, with his friend attempting a rescue, but only managing to grip a layer of damaged skin. As the rescue team arriving swiftly quelled the flames but could not save the man. The team's medic promptly attended to the injured, providing first aid before transporting the woman to the hospital. However, the unfolding chaos took another cruel turn as the ground violently shook, triggering a second eruption from the submerged volcano. Volcanic rock struck the man's chest, adding another layer of tragedy to the disaster.
It's melting.
Go!
Pour into it.
A cash transport vehicle had overturned in an accident. Firefighters climbed the ladder, intending to rescue the driver first. Suddenly, the iron chain holding the vehicle snapped, throwing the firefighter on top off. Fortunately, he managed to grab the edge of the vehicle in time, while the other team members quickly secured the chain. The captain climbed the ladder and pulled his teammate up.
Come on! Come on!
Then, the two of them pried open the door and carried out the injured driver. Next, they cut open the rear door of the cash transport vehicle. As soon as the door panel lifted, the two men rushed forward, spotting box after box of gold bars being tossed down. Unable to restrain themselves, the men exchanged glances and charged ahead. The captain intercepted them swiftly, shortly after detectives arrived and took the two men into custody. Firefighters were called to a school bus accident.
I swear to God, it wasn't my fault. The truck. I smelled something burning back here, then suddenly, boom.
It's silver bullets on this truck. On it.
This way.
When they arrived, Lieutenant Casey walked into the bus. He found two boys trapped inside. One boy named Luca had a steel rod pierced through his clavicle, pinning him in his seat. The other boy was also stuck, but appeared to be in better shape. After examining Luca, paramedic Dawson said Luca's clavicle was broken. The steel rod was embedded deeply in his body, and moving it without care could result in life-threatening injuries. The second boy was unable to breathe at this moment. They needed to rescue him first. Dawson kept comforting Luca, telling him to be brave, and then told him to hold her hand. The firefighters cut the steel rod and freed Luca, then secured him on a stretcher and transported him to the ambulance. The high-voltage power lines fell into the pool. Little girl named Emma was trapped in the middle of the water. Emma's nanny tried to rescue her but was killed by electrocution. At that moment, the girl's father rushed out. Buck stopped him from jumping in. He ordered them to keep Emma on the raft. The couple hurried to calm their daughter's emotions, but the power couldn't be cut off temporarily. Then Buck saw an inflatable killer whale.
Did you get that from the Macho Handbook? That's insane.
Yeah, there's no way that book actually exists.
Actually, give me your knife.
Abby got a knife from him. She sliced off the metal nozzle of a rubber hose, and they stretched it across the pool so Emma could grab it. An explosion crackled behind Buck, but he and Abby kept on moving until Emma reached the edge. Abby carefully took her hand and quickly lifted her out of the water. Emma was finally out of danger. Immediately after, the Department of Water and Power shut off the electricity, followed by some firefighters. Paramedics had received a call. Two elderly people were in trouble. It wasn't until the old lady asked her husband to show them what happened that they witnessed the shocking scene. Larry's intestines had actually fallen out of his body. He explained he had recently undergone abdominal surgery. Feeling stifled in the hospital, he came to the park for some fresh air, but he overlooked his allergies. After just a couple of rounds in the park, he had a severe pollen allergy. His nose started itching like crazy and he began sneezing uncontrollably. His stitches suddenly burst open. The paramedics quickly treated the wound, while Larry desperately tried to hold back his sneezes. However, sneezes aren't something you can just suppress. Seeing this wouldn't work. The paramedics also couldn't stuff the intestines back in, as it might contaminate the abdominal cavity. After a brief discussion, they came up with a solution. They injected him with anti-allergy medication, while moistening sterile pads with saline solution to wrap around Larry's intestines, providing the most basic protection. Finally, they wrapped gauze around his waist several times. All that left was to transport him to the hospital for cleaning and suturing. The paramedics received a call from a woman who said her brother's mouth was stuck. She explained that they were just decorating the Christmas tree. To free his hands, the man casually put the ornament in his mouth, and now it had become stuck. No matter how hard he tried, the ornament wouldn't come out of his mouth. Brett didn't believe it. If it can go in, it can definitely come out. First, she asked the man to calm down, then instructed her partner Mikami to get pliers. Unfortunately, the surface of the ornament was too smooth, making it impossible to find a stress point, but Brett wasn't discouraged. She asked Mikami to get a yank or suction tip. However, no matter how many times she tried, she couldn't find any space to insert it. The man had obviously reached the limit of his patience.
Well, Merry Christmas to us.
Thank you.
The boy was playing and fell into the laundry chute, his body twisted, unable to breathe. Just a moment ago, a boy shouted for help. It turned out that two brothers were playing hide and seek. The older brother hid in the laundry chute and accidentally got stuck inside. To make matters worse, the boy twisted his neck and was quickly unable to breathe. The firefighter immediately confirmed the rescue location. They had to break through the wall. Then they prepared to cut the chute. At that moment, their mother returned home, now her younger son crying uncontrollably. Seeing her son's twisted body curled up in the narrow chute, the mother was dumbfounded. The captain immediately stepped forward to comfort her. Fortunately, the mother regained her composure. The boy was soon successfully rescued, but he was already in shock. Firefighters immediately rushed him to the hospital for treatment. Unfortunately, though, they couldn't save him. There was an overturned cement truck in the street.
I saw the whole thing from up there. He hit someone.
What?
He was going too fast. Swerved to miss a woman walking in the street, but he hit her.
A girl had been trapped in the cement before she was run over. Firefighters Bowden and Kelly hurried forward to check on the girl, while crews climbed up to check on the truck driver. The two together pulled the girl out of the cement. Kelly said the girl wasn't breathing and thought her leg was snapped. They quickly got her to the sidewalk. Bowden used his fingers to scrape some cement out of the girl's mouth, while Kelly kept pouring water on the girl's head. At this moment, crews had already rescued the driver. The girl still wasn't breathing. The paramedic arrived. She quickly inserted a tube into her mouth, trying to suction out the cement. Bowden and Kelly anxiously waited. Finally, the girl regained consciousness, and everyone sighed with relief. Miles had just arrived in his backyard when he suddenly heard a faint cry for help. He followed the sound only to find that the voice was coming from a deep well.
911, what's your emergency?
Our little boy! He was in the backyard! We're putting in a pool and he fell into an open drain pipe!
Can you see him?
Yes, but we can't get to him!
Very soon, the firefighters arrived at the scene. To assess the situation underground, the captain grabbed a detector and immediately lowered it down. Jack was stuck in the narrow well walls. Bobby comforted him, telling him not to move. They would get him out as soon as possible, but the situation was not optimistic. Jack kept slipping further down. The more he slipped, the tighter he got stuck. He was at risk of positional asphyxia. Time was running out. Buck suggested using an excavator, but Bobby thought it was too risky. If the well walls collapsed, things would get worse. The safest option was to send someone down to rescue Jack, but the pipe was too narrow. An adult simply couldn't fit. At that moment, Miles volunteered to go down and save Jack. With the situation urgent, the firefighters had no choice but to let him try. After making all the preparations, they lowered Miles into the well upside down. Miles slowly moved toward Jack. As he descended, he reassured Jack not to be afraid. Everyone above was holding their breath, worried that something else might go wrong. Thankfully, Miles quickly reached Jack. He pulled out a safety rope and secured it tightly around Jack's body. Then he kicked the pipe to signal them. Buck immediately pulled the rope. Both Miles and Jack were finally pulled out. The crisis was over. And after this experience, their bond as brothers would only grow stronger. Miles didn't even mind reading Jack his favorite story anymore. This boy's head was lodged in a railing on a balcony, and the railing was collapsing. His mother was clinging desperately to the railing for dear life. If she let go, he would fall to his death. Just as the railing slipped from her grasp, Kelly climbed the ladder and caught him. Meanwhile, 2 firefighters arrived just in time, grabbing the railing, but the iron was very heavy, and any slight mistake could hurt the boy's neck. At the critical moment, Casey came up with an idea. First, they used a rope to secure the railing, then employed a hammer to create an anchor point on the doorframe. They tied the rope to the hammer to temporarily stabilize the railing. Next, they cut the railing and rescued the boy. He appeared unharmed, and Sylvie checked his neck. The boy's mother begged Kelly not to send him to the hospital, but Kelly explained that it wasn't his decision. Sylvie informed her that she had decided to take him to the hospital for a checkup. At the hospital, Sylvie discovered the boy's file was flagged by CPS because his mother had lost custody of him 3 years earlier due to abuse. Sylvie watched in horror as social workers entered the hospital and took the boy away from his mother.